In that debris field, we found the other end of the pressure hull, the aft end bell, which was basically comprised of the totality of that pressure vessel.
It was all consistent with the components used to build the Titan, but they also think the debris tells them something about how the Titan went down. Not a slow, steady leak, but rather a violent, sudden change in pressure.
This is an incredibly unforgiving environment down there on the seafloor, and the debris is consistent with a catastrophic implosion of the vessel.
A catastrophic implosion is what can happen when you are subjected to the incredible pressure of being so deep underwater. You know, the Titan wreckage is about 13,000 feet below sea level. When you're that far down, the forces acting on the hull of the ship, many thousands of pounds per square inch, you know, I've heard it compared to having the equivalent of an Empire State Building crushing you from all sides.
We've taken a regular styrofoam coffee cup, and that's then strapped to the outside of the submersible in a net bag. And when we eventually come up topside and recovered, the actual same coffee cup is basically a that size.
The big question right now is how such a catastrophic implosion could have happened. You know, it was an experimental sub. That was literally written on the death waiver passengers have to sign to be allowed on board. And a lot has been said about the cavalier attitude that the company's CEO had when it came to safety, innovation, and pushing the envelope with, you know, new materials never before used in a sub of this kind. But we also learned something from this afternoon's news conference that tells us about the timing of the implosion. You know, you'll recall the Titan lost contact with its mothership on the surface partway through its descent. This was on Sunday morning. They should have returned by the afternoon, but didn't. And it was only that evening the Coast Guard was alerted. Then it was roughly another day until a Canadian plane would arrive, dropping sonar buoys into the water. You can think of those like underwater microphones. It gave search teams listening capability. So here's the thing. There's this period between Sunday and Monday where nobody had any clue what was going on down there. And the suggestion seems to be from the Coast Guard, that's when the implosion likely happened.
This was a catastrophic implosion of the vessel, which would have generated a significant broadband sound down there that the sonar buoys would have picked up.
They would have heard the implosion if it had happened while their sonar buoys were deployed, but they heard nothing. I mention this because it tells us something about what the crew's final moments might have been like. You see, the great fear here was that death would have been slow and unbearable. Imagine, you're trapped all alone in a 22-foot hunk of carbon fiber. It's cold because sunlight can't penetrate the water. There's limited food, limited water to drink, only a single porthole that you can't even look through without powering the ship's lights because it's pitch black on the other side, and you're running out of oxygen. Perhaps a silver lining in all of this is that in the case of a violent implosion, death would have been instantaneous.
On behalf of the United States Coast Guard and the entire Unified Command, I offer my deepest condolences to the families. I can only imagine what this has been like for them, and I hope that this discovery provides some solace during this difficult time.
On board the Titan, Hamish Harding, a British billionaire explorer, Paul-Henri Nargeolet, a renowned French diver, Shahzada Dawood and his son Suleiman, two members of one of Pakistan's wealthiest families, and Stockton Rush, the CEO of Oceangate Expeditions, the company behind this doomed voyage, finding its final resting place not far from where the Titanic itself sank more than 100 years ago.